out of the EU. Heidi Allen is the Conservative MP for South Cambridgeshire. Morning, Heidi.
Hi, Dottie.
So your constituency in South Cambridgeshire voted to remain. You voted to trigger Article 50. Was it a difficult decision for you?
It was extremely difficult, and if anybody hasn't had a chance to look at it yet, I've got a whole page of explanation on my website, and I've been tweeting it out to give people the explanation, because I think what people perhaps don't appreciate, until I became an MP, I wouldn't have done either, the kind of the process of the way bills move through the House of Commons, is that last night was not the end of the story. Last night was the first vote. Next week is actually when the fun and games start, because that's when we look at how the bill actually would work and what influence MPs like myself can bring to bear on how the deal is structured and ultimately whether it's good enough or not. So last night was just the starting gun. I knew overwhelmingly that it would fall on the side of Brexit. And I knew that, 498 to 114 was the final score, that my one vote in there, had I voted against it, it sounds so harsh, but it would have been symbolic. It would have been just one tiny vote in the wind, and I would much rather be in a position next week, as I already am, talking to the whips about negotiating hard on what that deal might look like. And the whips are under no illusion, if the deal's not good enough, when we come to the end of the bill process, I will vote against it.
OK, so what kind of amendments or what do you definitely want to see in this bill? Put it that way, because we don't actually have the white paper yet.
No, and that's one good thing that's already happening. The white paper wouldn't have come forward so quickly had, I can't speak, for the other side, but certainly on the Tory side, I hate the hard, soft Brexiteer description. I really don't like it at all. But for plain language, I suppose, the soft Tory Brexiteers like me, who wanted safeguards around access to free trade for our key industries, that absolute need and reassurance for EU citizens, and those skills, and our sectors that need certain types of employment still to be able to have those. We pushed and pushed hard on that, and that's why the white paper's coming so soon, as you say. Today, we're told. But the amendments, when I picked up the little booklet of amendments tabled so far yesterday morning, there are already over 120, and they continue building through yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I may even table some myself. And it's amendments that look to provide protections along those lines for the single market and free movement of skills.
So you definitely want access to free trade. You want the single market. What about this line that's on the front page of the Times this morning? Tory MPs are threatening to rebel over Brexit unless the rights of EU citizens to stay in Britain are secured. Is that a red line for you?
Yes, it is. I know the Prime Minister's in an uncomfortably difficult position around, we mustn't forget that we have UK citizens living in Europe as well. And it's shameful, really, that a couple of the European leaders have, not given their guarantees to her. That, to me, was one part of the deal that could have been taken out the spotlight. It could have been, a gentleman's agreement, for want of a better phrase, ahead of the negotiations, of European leaders looking each other in the eye and saying, you know what, let's just take the people out of this. And I'm so disappointed that they haven't. I wish Theresa had perhaps been a little stronger from the beginning and just done it. Now it's become this negotiating piece, which is unfortunate, but absolutely, South Cambridgeshire is absolutely, all our scientific and research organisations, our agricultural sector, we would really struggle without those people, and we absolutely must make sure they stay here.
So if it looks like their right to stay in the UK is not going to be secured, what do you do? What will you do?
Well, this is where the wording of the amendments, it's about how well they're put together, because, you can have an amendment that says, I want the sky to be pink, and, if it's not legally achievable, then it doesn't, it's not worth the bit of paper that's written on. So I need to make sure that I back amendments that sort of put an onus on not just the free movement of those people and the ability for them to remain, but other things like access to free trade. We need to make... Sorry, Dottie, I've got the most stinking cold. We need to make sure that there's some fallback position that says if the deal, when it comes to the end, doesn't have those things in that we hold dear and precious, then we either have to insist that the PM goes to Europe and ask for an extension of the negotiation period, or we ultimately say no to the deal. One thing I'm absolutely sure of, and I know a lot of other Tories are, talk about, if we don't get a deal, we'll just fall back on WTO, world trade deal rules. Absolutely not. I'm not happy with that at all. And that's the stuff that we're going to tease out of government if this bill passes through the Commons.
So you definitely want a deal, but you are prepared to vote against it if it isn't the right deal. We understand. Heidi, thank you very much. Just